Well, good afternoon again and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about a particular country after we've covered some of the broad outlines in the previous videos, including a bit of a look at the Caribbean islands, including Central America, including some parts of the Bahamas, and also including parts of Southeast Asia. Today I'm going to start to specialize in one particular area of interest which I think you'll find helpful, and that is Indonesia. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to start at the top and say, okay, this is the country of choice. Let's have a look at the items that are of interest to us, and by a gradual process of elimination we'll find out whether in fact Indonesia is one of the countries that would be acceptable to me. So in the process I'll try to do this in a way that applies to everybody. So no matter whether you're a 20-year-old just getting ready to go on your backpacking travels around the world, or whether you're ready for retirement, or whether you're a single person looking for love of either sex or any sex in between, then the headlines that I'm going to create will apply to you all. In other words, we're going to deal with things like housing, we're going to deal with immigration protocols, we're going to deal with costs, we're going to deal with location in terms of beach or mountain or so on. So all of those categories will apply to all of us. But I will be doing this from a personal perspective because, as some of you know, I've already lived in Thailand and Malaysia and Southeast Asia for several years in a previous life. I've also lived in Mexico, in Central America, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, spent a bit of time in Cuba and Miami in Florida, actually in Florida, in a place called Jupiter. So I can add quite a lot of value to your search. Now, the places that I will not be covering are the non-tropical areas, because it just so happens that I have no interest in non-tropical areas at all. I'm recording this from New Zealand, where I've been for the last 3 or 4 years due to the COVID lockdown, amongst other things. And I'm currently educating my 14-year-old daughter, who I've got sole charge of, at a local school in Christchurch, New Zealand, and it's working out very well. However, it doesn't suit me, the winters are too harsh here, and I've been looking for ways to educate her outside of the normal school system on a day-to-day basis. Fortunately, I've found some very good alternatives, and I'll cover those during the process that I'm talking about, Indonesia in particular. So, okay, let's start off with the actual location. You may know, of course, that Indonesia is a huge country. There's thousands and thousands of islands. I've only been to half a dozen of them, perhaps, sailing a few years ago, about 20 years ago. And some of those islands I'll cover in detail, but the one that I'm going to focus on is Bali. And strangely enough, Bali is one of the areas that I didn't spend a lot of time on when we were sailing. And part of the reason for that was that I had envisaged Bali as being a huge metropolitan city, very busy. It was lots of tuk-tuks, lots of traffic, lots of problems associated with high density population. And so as a sailor and as a cruising yachty, of course, I wanted to avoid that. So we purposely spent a very brief amount of time in Bali. But this time the research is different. I do not have a yacht. I'm not living on a boat. I'm going to be talking about accommodation, either rentable or purchasable, and other avenues of being able to stay in a reasonable standard of accommodation while I'm there. Now, as you know, Denpasar is the main city in Bali. It's quite large. I think from memory there's about 4 or 5 million people in Bali. That's quite a lot for a smallish island, and Denpasar is very densely populated, and as far as I can evaluate, Denpasar itself is not one of the areas that I would like to live. So we'll be researching some of the other areas, Nusa Dua for one, Benoa. We'll be looking at some of the areas, others including Canggu and Kuta. Ubud is of no interest to me because it's in the mountains, but nonetheless, the little timeline that I'm going to go through, or the checklist that I'm going to go through, would apply even if you did want to live in Ubud. So stand by for the checklist and the follow-up to this video. I'm going to sign off now and go and create the visuals so that we can work through the list together. I think you'll find it easy to follow. And bear in mind that this process is starting from a very low budget. This is not a matter of selling a house in Canada or selling your house in Minnesota or selling your house in England and using that money to go and buy something in Bali, buy a nice apartment on the water, have enough money to spend. This is not this situation. I'm talking about very basic income related method of getting out of your current situation and into a better situation because of the weather, the climate, the costs and the friendships. So if you happen to have a situation where your income stops the minute you stop working, well, this is going to be for you. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.